Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kairos Conversations. My name is Mauro Morales. I am one of the Kairos maintainers, and I'll be your host in this session. Today, I'm interviewing Ettore Di Giacinto. He's the creator of Kairos, and he is going to talk a bit about his background, why he created Kairos, the challenges that he faced along the way, and where the project is headed. We're also going to be discussing a little bit about other projects like Linux distributions and main components that make an OS. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to leave them in the comments below. And if you want to hear about newer interviews with other Kairos members or people from the community, make sure to subscribe.
Ettore Di Giacinto, and I'm head of open source at SpectroCloud, and I created Kairos, which is a Linux framework that allows to basically convert any distros to an immutable pattern. And I've been working a lot in the open source, so maybe some of people can remember me from my Gentoo days. So I've been also in the Gentoo community. So I'm a fond of Linux distribution in general, and I love Linux. You can tell from the background, probably.
That's pretty cool. So you were a maintainer for a while at Gentoo, or what was your role there?
Yeah. And it was because basically I started my Linux, I want to say Linux career, but my Linux path in engineering. Basically from Sabayon Linux. Some of you probably remember Sabayon, which was one of the early popular distro that were bringing compiz in the old days. So these desktop environment that were a lot of shiny effect, the burning window effect or wobbly windows. And Sabayon at that time was really, I would say, leading there from how well where they packaged the drivers. So NVIDIA drivers were packaged very well. ATI drivers were packaged very well. ATI drivers. So we are talking about a long time ago. That's how it got really, I would say, popular as distribution. And at some point, I was also leading the Sabayon project. And then I transitioned to Gentoo. So where I took some of the bits that we were upstreaming from Sabayon, so like Genkernel Next, which was popular for generating initramfs, and then Mate. I was maintaining Mate as well, the desktop environment, and had several packages also that I was maintaining, and it was, it was quite of a challenge, but I liked it a lot and gives you a lot of resilience, I would say. I would call it in that way.
Honestly, Gentoo, even though it was very well documented, it was not that easy to get into. I still remember the first time I tried in a very old Pentium 2 laptop to compile everything and just waiting days literally for things to compile just to have the base system without the GUI, right? Like,
yes.
I don't know. I gave up very fast on it in that sense.
Yeah. Everything in Gentoo was kind of, okay, now you read first what you're doing. You have to read it, you have to understand it. Then you try it out. I mean, it was all about that. And it was a very good experience. I mean, it really makes you think. And it was very learning exercise. I mean, this is how I think you get to the meat of how an operative system works. So I like it a lot again today.
And where does the transition come from? Okay, we have these Linux distributions that work pretty much the same way that we've been using them for a while into let's do immutable systems.
It's a good question. And it goes actually to the real pain point, I would say. So, I've been, of course, doing system administration. Meanwhile, I was working with when I was contributing to Gentoo and Sabayon, and Sabayon was a very good way for me to doing system administration into my machines because It combined the power of Gentoo, so flexibility. You could really compile whatever package you wanted and then distribute it like a normal binary distribution. So I had a lot of time spent in building a real flow, I would say, like how to administer multiple machines back in the time I was using Puppet. So Puppet, Sabayon all together, trying to manage fleet of machines, but then you realize it's kind of, there are some shortcomings into that. So machine tend to drift, configuration, little things. I mean, I want to say that it doesn't work. It worked very well for a lot of years, and I was very
Right.
happy with that. It's okay. It's perfectly fine, but it had some limits. So it had some times there were times where you didn't want it to upgrade, absolutely, because you knew it was going to be very hard. You were going to have very hard days. So a lot of patching came along, a lot of so you learned the hard way how it should be done, and Immutable OSs immediately triggered to me. Like when I was when I was already in Gentoo, I was thinking on Immutable OSs. Then Core OS was born, actually, so kind of more
Yeah.
of the same years. And it was very nice to see that direction. And then basically that's how Kairos it was born at the end of the day. So it was born exactly to overcome that way of upgrading machines packages by packages, which is fine for desktop, I think, but for when you have to manage many machines, then it becomes very cumbersome. I mean, it's really problematic. There is many things that can go wrong. While with the Immutable OS, when you do AB upgrades, it's easy. So I wanted to always have this experience like you have with Android every day,
Yeah.
but with servers, because that was what you wanted to have.
Maybe we should mention that it's just like security, right? Like everyone needs to assess what are their needs. We're not claiming with Kairos that everyone and everything should move to immutable OSs, but that you should assess what kind of problems you're trying to overcome, and then immutable OSs might be not only a good solution for some of those problems, but the only solution for some of the problems, like when we talk about trusted boot, which we can touch maybe a bit later. What kind of setup do you run at home? Why do you need to talk about those kind of problems?
I don't know why. It's between. I mean, with time, you tend to, I guess, accumulate devices at home. So I have very old, even Raspberry Pi 1 using. No, so that's the thing of range that I always wanted support, from Raspberry Pis to whatever. So I have Kubernetes at home, of course, with Kairos.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's basically my self hosting everything. I have many services in there just for my home, also for my family. So I have the domotic system, I have my agent system all deployed on Kubernetes, and then I have separate devices to run the inferencing, and then of course I have also also for my parents I've built a domotic system too, so they have their own they have their own cluster, that of course, so there is many layers into this,
I see.
and that's why you need, of course, for yourself. So this is the first level of serving, you see. Dog fooding, this is
Absolutely.
the mantra.
But I think it's important, because if you don't have the experience, you don't see the problems, right?
Yeah,
Like if you're dealing with one machine,
yeah.
you might not really, you might have the need to do AB upgrades, because it's still very comfortable to do those kind of upgrades on our phones, even if we normally just have one. But if you have multiple, of course, then you need a lot more of this. Now, there are other solutions, like you mentioned, CoreOS.
Mhm.
Why didn't you go with something that already existed? Why do you have to approach it differently with Kairos?
Yeah, that's a very good question too, because well, at the times I was actually using CoreOS and K3OS, so I was happy about that. So maybe some of you remember K3OS, it was from Ranger. So I was very happy with that setup. And from that sense, when K3OS was kind of shut down, that was my trigger to create my immutable distro or framework, because I wanted to have a way to transform every OS in an immutable distro. So for me, it was like, okay, every distro could be at the end treated in the same way. I mean, at the end, it's just the packages salsa that forms an OS. So it was very clear to me because I was into packaging a lot. And for me, it was like, just, okay, why then we can't build an architecture that scales to any OS, and treat the OS in the same way? And that's how Kairos was born. There was nothing at the time that allowed me to do that. And for me, it was like, okay, I want to basically protect my system from a single distro that is not behaving well. So let's say that I want to switch from Ubuntu to Red Hat for some reason. I should be empowered to do that without paying the price of doing that from scratch. Because if you would have to do that from scratch, it's good luck. Right? But if you have a good system which is immutable, which is treating the OS just a pure OS and not like a full stack OS, then it makes your life more simple in that sense.
There's obviously always a cost of transitioning between one system to another, but this is probably one of the cleanest ways, because if I am doing lifecycle management with Kairos, I don't know, if I'm some sort of consultant, I can do it for customers who have Ubuntu as much as for customers who have Red Hat without being impacted myself. Like this, I use the same approaches in both solutions, even though the underlying OS is different. That's a very cool solution, I have to say. And it really came out in a time where there was no other project doing something like that. Today, we have, for example, Bootsys doing something similar.
Exactly.
But and I think that's the only one. So it's the only two projects that Kairos and Bootsy are the only two projects that have this approach. I wonder if there other people will come this way, because I can understand that for some distributions they want to keep you on their distribution, right? But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. It's just about the choice, let the user choice. It's really important, and it's a little bit the philosophy also behind Gentoo, right? So you have a lot of, you are empowered a lot as a user, and I wanted to keep that mindset because it's most flexible way you can commit in the long term. So when you have to maintain a system long term, this is proven to be much better way than we were doing it before, at least. And nothing bad to be said against package manager. I wrote one package manager as well, so I love package management. But exactly because I wrote one, like from zero to hero, like really reading the papers, and I was implementing what the papers were saying, and trying to get my idea also about the topic as well. So a lot of work around that. And when there was no AI, so it's completely different. Now everybody could write their own package manager. Of course you can. We can prompt Claude and make it do it, but at the time it was not that easy. And now I see, I mean, at least package manager, it solves a big issue, but have to be used in the correct way. I mean, you have to use it to assemble your OS. There it makes sense. But for upgrading fleets, I don't think it's the perfect tool for the job. I mean, at least this is my take on it.
Basically, you're saying we're solving two different problems there,
Yes.
right? Like if I understand correctly, the distribution will have knowledge on how and where to put things related to the distribution, and there the package manager can be very useful, and you can have, I don't know, pre-compiled things, or you build from scratch depending on whatever the distribution is choosing to do. You have knowledge about every corner of the distro, we could say. But when it comes to managing the machine, what is the difference there? What is the part that the package manager is still missing?
I think it's the design approach that doesn't port in the same way. So package manager are very skewed in having a logic about upgrading single packages. And what I would like to have there, it's just a very simple logic to upgrade. So I would prefer simpler application to manage that rather than exposing a lot of complexity to solve a simple issue, because doing AB upgrades, it's more easier than doing, 3K packages updates. And I mean, you can fit a package manager to do one layered upgrade. I mean, you can definitely do that. But I would aim for more simplicity and maintainability. So having a design that from start makes assumption along the way, and you basically have guardrails for your project and saying, okay, I want to do things in this way, and I commit in engineering sense to have kind of features that don't break that mentality, right? So it doesn't try to be like, okay, let's do atomic packages. No, I mean, we are going one single layer upgrade. So this is what we are doing. And I think it makes the focus of the project very narrow as well. So less bugs from one side, less maintenance from one side.
Makes sense. And it's not. One thing is, when we talk about Kairos, we're not talking about a single unit of a single component, but we're talking kind of like a suite of projects, right? So we have their Emu Core, we have Aurora Boot, we have multiple things playing with each other to give you that experience that you're describing. So it all needs to play well with each other, right? But the nice thing that you get at the end is what you're describing, that now you can apply it to any operating system or any Linux distribution, better said, that has some minimal requirements.
Doubling on that, I mean, it's about the choice, and I mean, from one side it makes hard for us. Maybe somebody would wonder, okay, it doesn't make it hard to maintain so many kind of options that you can plug in the system. It kind of is, but we are trying to steering, of course, into some direction that it's the most unified, that makes every distribution kind of work together. And it's mostly following the Unix philosophy, right? Create one tool that does one thing and does it well. So that's why we have many components, but they play well together.
Right. And one of those components, I think it's worth mentioning, is Hadron. What is Hadron trying to solve exactly?
There never was a distro which was lean and small and lightweight like Alpine, but having the same how to say, I would say, feature set the systemd ships by default. And it's not only systemd feature set, it's also about compatibility, right? And with the ecosystem that nowadays it's mostly systemd. So for me, it was a great limitation not having a distro like that, and that's why Hadron is born. So what tries to do is being minimal, lightweight, simple, but having systemd as a init system, which allows to have much more support and having more features that we absorb directly from systemd. And for instance, trusted boot, it's something that comes up very easily with systemd. Otherwise, you would have to roll everything your own. I mean, you can definitely do it, but there is a maintenance cost involved with it. And systemd, it's very well adopted, and there is a lot of contribution to systemd, and there are a lot of eyes on systemd, which makes it very compelling if we have to think in that way. I mean, we can also go and say, okay, I don't like it personally, but that's another thing, right? I mean, it's that you like it or not personally doesn't. I mean, it's still objectively a very good and useful tool for the community. So
right, makes sense. I think one of the cool things that at some point when we do a session just on Hadron, I would like to talk about is how you build the whole operating system just on Dockerfiles. It's not the traditional way of taking a Linux distribution, huh?
Yeah, true. But that's a little bit rooted from when I built my package manager. I built it. It was building on top of Dockerfiles too. So it was like 7 years ago or 8 years ago. So it was, the idea was like to build everything from Docker because again, it's a Gentoo experience because in Gentoo you have, it was kind of the same system, but you have to roll on it manually. So you were like doing Docker, but manually. And so you see Docker as a very good mapping for doing exactly the same thing. And it makes it portable and easy to reproduce.
Interesting. And another thing that I didn't find any other projects using it before, it's using the repositories of the OCI, so the images itself, as the mechanism to do the upgrades, to roll the upgrades. That I found was very interesting, to be honest, because at the end of the day, at least in the Kubernetes world, everyone has one of these, right? Like everyone needs to have a registry.
Exactly. And that's the thing, right? Probably you have already solved that problem of the registry. That's why the whole system piggyback to that, because you have already on OCI registry, you already have your flow in there. And why do not treating the OS like you were treating an application? It can follow the same life cycle.
Which would you say is one of the main challenges that you had to solve in the project? One of the things that really cracked your head?
That's a good question. I mean, there were so many. One of the things that I remember that was very biting me, it was when I did boot assessment with Grub, and I had to roll on my boot assessment script for Grub. That was kind of painful, like really, because Grub it was not very well documented by then, so you had really to go long mile to get what you needed. So it was not engineering, not difficult in engineering, but frustrating over time, I would say. That was one of the things that was more challenging. From the coding, I think when I was doing the lib peer-to-peer layer for connecting clusters, that was the most engineering challenging, probably. Yeah.
That is a very interesting feature that Kairos has that allows you to just spin up nodes and they start a peer-to-peer network and they configure themselves to decide which type of node they are going to be. What is Kairos feature complete sort of, or are there big things coming? How do you see the plan in the future?
For us, I think one of the most important North Star it's making Hadron be a first-class citizen, so having support every kind of scenarios that you would be empowered with other distros, so you can actually run it everywhere. And the second one, I think it's security, because security nowadays is getting really, really important, even with the AI now. I mean, the point where we are crossed the point where security it's not, I mean, it's completely, I want to say completely automated, but it's very well automated that you get a lot of CVEs nowadays and you get a lot of supply chain attacks. So I think it's very important as a project to try to guard against that and plan proactively. So I think we have to invest also in that more, especially for distros. I mean, and for me, it's really important because when you take a distribution from outside, let's say Ubuntu, you are going to trust Ubuntu, right? You are going to trust they are doing the correct thing. They are scanning the packages. They are putting only good packages in there. Same for Red Hat, but you probably heard about Red Hat had supply chain attack as well, just 2 weeks ago, I think, or 1 week ago. So these things can happen. So we need to prevent that. And so this is the next topic, I think, especially with Hadron. So one thing that I like of Hadron is that we don't have so many packages, so that it's a very good it's a very good position for us because the less surface of attack you have. But of course, it doesn't mean that, you're still running application in the cluster, but I think that that's another domain. So I'm talking about the OS domain here.
Right. Makes sense. That's pretty cool, and I'm looking forward then to digging into those other topics. Any final remarks that you would like to share?
I would say, give it a shot if you didn't have, already, because if you're looking, for Linux distro which are small and reusable, and if you are especially like me, like somebody that likes self-hosting a lot, having their home lab, you should really give it a shot. And if you are looking for enterprises, there is of course, we have also Kairos Support Enterprise. So we do that. But of course, I would suggest to try it out. Try if you are keen, if you are spinning already Kubernetes clusters at home, give it a shot, because with Kairos it's very easy. It's very easy to upgrade system. It's very easy to manage your OS at the end of the day. It becomes the boring OS, right? It's not anymore like you have to go for a quest for upgrading. So it makes everything very, very much simple to handle.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. If you have any comments or questions about the different topics that we addressed today, make sure to leave them in the comment below. I'm going to try to address them personally. And if you want to be notified about future interviews, then make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching. Until the next time.